Okay, we are about to start a new novel called The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. So I wanted to go through just a few things that you're going to need to know and be looking for as we read this book. This book is kind of different because it's set up, what we're used to reading in a novel is chapters. But this book is set up in what are called vignettes. Okay, and this word right here is vignette. And a vignette is a short scene that captures a single moment or a defining detail about a character, idea, or other element of the story. Sandra Cisneros wrote this book kind of as a personal narrative, which means it's a story about events in her life or inspired by her life. And she set it up as vignettes that are little single moments or defining details that kind of develop her characters and develop her story. They're mostly descriptive. They usually don't have a lot of plot detail. It's just kind of like little snippets of what's happening. They are not standalone literary works, which means that you wouldn't want to just read one vignette and then, understand what's going on or it be a story in itself. You'd have to read all of them together to make up the whole story. They cannot exist only as pieces. They have to be part of a bigger work. They're found in creative writing, which is what this is. And then they also use a lot of figurative language to help create a picture, to help you understand and give lots of detail to the story. So this is going to be set up in vignettes, not chapters. Some figurative language that we are going to look for as we read. Some of these, or all of these really, you should already know, but we're going to review them so that you know what to look for. The first one is a simile, which is a comparison using like or as. Her eyes glistened like the sun, comparing her eyes to the sun. Metaphor is comparing two unlike things, but it does not use like or as. Her eyes are the ocean. Okay, again, comparing her eyes to the ocean, but it doesn't use like or as. It just says her eyes are the ocean. Personification is when you give human-like characteristics to something that is not human. The sorrowful moon was jealous of the exuberant sun. Okay, it's giving this sorrowful sadness to the moon, which is a non-human thing, and then jealousy is a human characteristic, but giving it to the sun and the moon, which are non-human things. And alliteration has to do with the sounds of a word, and I think we talked about this earlier with something else that we read, or you've heard of this before, all of these. But an alliteration is a series of words beginning with the same consonant sound. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. You've probably heard that statement before, but it's called an alliteration because it starts with the same letters at the beginning of several words in the sentence. And hyperbole, you use these a lot in your everyday life probably, but you just don't call them hyperbole. Hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration. Like if you say, I had the worst day ever, that's an exaggeration. It's a hyperbole. It wasn't really the worst day. It might have just been a little bit of a bad day. Jan had a million things to do for her homework. She probably doesn't really have a million things to do, but it is an exaggeration to give effect of how much she has to do. Imagery, also known as sensory details, are details that the author uses to make the reader feel like they're there. They relate to your sight or your smell or your touch or your taste or your sound. The aroma of cinnamon hit Bob in the face when he entered the warm, dark room. So it's describing what he sensed when he was there, so you can kind of imagine or picture what is going on in the story. Repetition is just when things are repeated. It could be an idea, could be a word or a phrase. One day we will find freedom. One day we will find peace. One day we will find equality. To give effect, the one day statement is repeated. That's repetition. So those are some things that you're going to be looking for as we read the different vignettes through The House on Mango Street. Like I said, the author is Sandra Cisneros, and she wrote this story which was inspired by her own life. So you are about to watch this video about what inspired Sandra Cisneros to write this story.